Greetings wearing travelers and curious minds, and welcome to another hot topic for Theory Summer. This one in particular, being a black box theory. I know, it's quite a saturated theory, but I promise you this one will be something new to add to the theory discussion. I even made sure this one would be on the shorter side, as to make sure only the most relevant parts of the theory end up making it into the video. Before we really get into it, there is also needed warning at the start. This video will be containing spoilers for Final Fantasy X. If you have not looked into the game and you don't want to have any spoilers at all, please click off now and check out the game. If you're here as a Kingdom Hearts fan unfamiliar with Final Fantasy X, it's definitely worth the investment. Now that hopefully all the people seeking to avoid spoilers have hopefully clicked off, we can begin.
Sin always comes back. It comes back after the calm, every time. The cycle will continue and your deaths will mean nothing.
But there's always a chance it won't come back this time. It's worth trying.
I understand what you're saying, Auron. I'll find a way to break the cycle.
You have a plan?
Checked?
Trust me, I'll think of something.
You must choose the one whom I will change, to become the faith of the final summoning. There must be a bond between chosen and summoner, for that is what the final summoning embodies. The bond between husband and wife, mother and child, or between friends. If that bond is strong enough, its light will conquer sin.
Hey, Braska. You don't have to do this.
Thank you for your concern.
Fine, I said my piece.
Well, I haven't. Lord Braska, let us go back. I don't want to see you die.
You knew this was to happen, my friend.
Yes, but I cannot accept it.
Auron, I am honored that you care for me so. But I have come to kill grief itself. I will defeat sin and lift the veil of sorrow covering Spira. Please understand, Auron.
We must talk.
What?
There's something you should know.
I know. It's about you, right?
I am also an unsent. You are not surprised.
I think I kinda knew. It was Unalesca, wasn't it?
When Braska and Jecht died defeating Sin, I just couldn't accept it. I came back here, tried to avenge them. But she struck me down. Somehow I made my way, crawling down Mount Gagazet. But my strength left me, just outside Bevel. That's where Kamari found me. I told him about Yuna, just before I died. I've been wandering ever since, never going to the far plane.
Auron.
Don't make that face. Being dead has its advantages. I was able to ride Sin and go to your Zanarkand.
And you've been watching over me since then, haven't you?
Beyond it lies Zanarkand.
Zanarkand, huh? It's been in ruins for 1,000 years, right?
So the legends say. No one knows for sure. It still could be your Zanarkand.
Thanks for trying, Auron.
This is it. Now is the time to choose. Die and be free of pain, or live and fight your sorrow. Now is the time to shape your stories. Your fate is in your hands.
And the cycle went on.
So, for anyone needing a refresher, Auron is dead, losing his life after returning to fight the mother of his religion and succumbing to his wounds inflicted from that battle. Canonically, he is specifically an unsent that continues to roam the land of the living even after death. This much is obvious, as to be summoned in the way Hades has done requires one to have died first, but it also means his journey in Final Fantasy X had reached its conclusion, where he had been laid to rest by the time Kingdom Hearts 2 starts. The curious question comes in the form of which part this applies to an Auron story, as Auron remains in the land of the living until the very end of Final Fantasy X. Given the additional context as to how the underworld works and where it connects to Through Dark Road, we know it operates a bit like a general direct connection to the final world too. Whether you want to say Final Fantasy X has the same final world that the dead depart to as Kingdom Hearts or another afterlife entirely, the afterlife that is presented in Final Fantasy X is overlapped with the underworld as well for Hades to be able to pull out Auron. The next interesting thing is what Hades specifically regards Auron as before pulling him out. To be more precise, calling him the mother of all bad guys.
By the by, what's down there?
Just the underworld's deepest dungeon. This time I'm bringing out the mother of all bad guys.
You don't say. Well, maybe I should go.
Let's cut to the chase. Here's the deal I'm gonna offer you. I let you out of the slammer. No strings. You'll be free as a bird. And all for one little job. Fight Hercules in the Colosseum to the death.
This is my story, and you're not part of it.
As you can see, Hades was confident in his title to Auron. It was that belief he was basically the worst villain he could pull from the afterlife that got Hades to summon him in the first place. Why he thinks this is where things start getting heated. Across the story of Final Fantasy X, there are only 3 moments where a third party might consider him to be a bad guy. These moments being abandoning his friends to their fate when they underwent the final Aeon, the death of Seymour, and the death of the faith caused by his guidance. While each of these are interesting on their own right, we're going to just cut to the chase and focus down on where I believe the title Hades gives him comes from. Of the 3 major beats he could have gained the title from, I believe the death of the religion of Yevon is why he's considered the mother of all bad guys. The reason? Yevon is continually associated to hope.
Have you chosen the one to become your faith? Who will it be?
Might I ask something first? Will sin come back even should I use the final summoning to defeat it?
Sin is eternal. Every Aeon that defeats it becomes sin in its place. And thus is sin reborn.
So that's why Jack became Sin.
Sin is an inevitable part of Spira's destiny. It is never-ending.
Never ending? But if we atone for our crimes, sin will stop coming back, yeah? Someday it'll be gone, yeah?
Will humanity ever attain such purity?
This cannot be! The teachings state that we can exercise sin with complete atonement! It's been our only hope all these years!
Hope is comforting. It allows us to accept fate, however tragic it might be.
No! Where is the sense in all this? Braska believed in Yevon's teachings and died for them. Jekt believed in Braska and gave his life for him.
They chose to die because they had hope. Yevon's teachings and the final summoning give the people of Spira hope. Without hope, they would drown in their sorrow. Now choose. Who will be your faith? Who will be the one to renew Spira's hope?
No one. I would have gladly died. I live for the people of Spira, and would have gladly died for them, but no more. The final summoning is a false tradition that should be thrown away.
No, it is our only hope. Your father sacrificed himself to give that hope to the people, so they would forget sorrow.
Wrong. My father wanted to make Spiro's sorrow go away, not just cover it up with lies.
Sorrow cannot be abolished. It is meaningless to try.
My father, I loved him. So I will live with my sorrow. I will live my own life. I will defeat sorrow in his place. I will stand my ground and be strong. I don't know when it will be, but someday I will conquer it. And I will do it without false hope.
Poor creature. You would throw away hope. Well, I will free you before you can drown in your sorrow. It is better for you to die in hope than to live in despair. Let me be your liberator. If I die, so does the final Aeon. And with it, Spira's only hope.
Then we'll find Spira a new hope.
Fool. There is no other way. Even if there was, even if you did destroy sin, you, Yevon, the Immortal, would only create sin anew.
You, Yevon?
Zayon, forgive me. Spira has been robbed of the light of hope. All that remains is sorrow.
As Yunalesca points out even right before her fight, the cycle of defeating sin is, well, rather cyclical, where those with hope are brought to the spire to give their lives and die willingly because they have hope. A misplaced hope that giving their life to stop sin will actually bring an end to the very cycle they were unknowingly perpetuating. While the nature of so much of Final Fantasy X has very strong overlaps with Kingdom Hearts Key and Union Cross narratively and story-wise, including but not limited to mass sacrifice in order to lead into a dream recreation of a place that ends up being destroyed partly as consequence of things involved with that dream world, the use of death to transcend mortality and obtain a type of divinity, finding vessels to contain an obvious darkness parallel in sin and hopes trapping it would stop it from returning. And of course the teachings of Yevon that parallel the teaching of light and how this would lead into the Master. Paralleling Yunalesca, our focus is just Auron for this video. For Auron, his guidance to the team is what directly lead to the end of Yunalesca, and in kind also lead to the end of the Yevon religion. This act is specifically regarded as the death of hope. From that you can probably gather why the connection to the black box, as hope is what is stated to be inside the box. At least by third-party accounts of its contents, anyway. This leaves us with why this theory video exists. To not say what is in the box, but to try and explain why the box through explaining what is hope. Hope is gained through the Yevon religion through the belief they will conquer sin and be the final sacrifice to the life cycle of sin. This hope, being misplaced on the very ones responsible for creating the entity known as sin, leads them instead to become unknowing tools to continue feeding sin and letting it continually be reborn anew. In the Kingdom Hearts context, this would be the teachings of light to use light to fight darkness, but is instead a means to further perpetuate darkness when used since strong light casts strong shadows. Their hope was itself the teachings of Yevon, and when those teachings were rejected and the embodiment of it and upholder of its cycle became no more, hope itself by extension had been killed. Needing to be replaced with a new hope and a new faith that does eventually come, yes, but the point being that the death of hope is Auron's grand claim to being associated to being the mother of all bad guys. Of all bad guys in Disney stories, none of them have ever successfully killed hope, only diminished it. Auron is unique in this feat, and as we can tell by the parallels to the Master story events even before counting the death of hope, Auron's relevance to why he of all Final Fantasy characters was chosen for Kingdom Hearts 2 becomes a lot more apparent as a teaser to the Black Box mystery. This is why Auron matters. Auron helps contextualize what would be important enough to be put into the box, and why it had to be hidden in such an obscure way. He also helps add context, not just to why hope, but what that is, and why it would have to be put in the box throughout the many ages of multiple Keyblade wars that would claim countless lives. Him still offering to be a guardian after he returns while can be considered canon to his character, since the Kingdom Hearts timeline of events would mean Tidus knew Sora before meeting Auron, and thus would allow for passive implications Auron knew of Sora all along and through this canon's version of Tidus. The guardianship being from the one credited as the one who brought death to Hope also begs its own question of which character Auron is supposed to parallel within the story, but we're just focusing on the black box here. With all this being said, it now leads us into the final part and the true theory section of the video. With all that we can gather from Auron, what is the conclusion for the contents inside the black box? The answer to that would be the teachings of light. The box being black, being a pun on that darkness that light cannot escape from, or trapped within. What the teachings of light are could itself be a book. It could be included as part of the Book of Prophecies, or it could be a person with memories of those teachings. Regardless of the medium that would hold it, my conclusion is that it's tied to the teachings of light because just like the religion of Yevon, it must end in order to kill the current hope of defeating darkness in order to replace it with the new hope of making peace with darkness. At minimum, forming a permanent truce with darkness as to finally put an end to the war between light and dark. The reason for it being the old hope that must be destroyed is because the people and worlds will always be trapped in the cycle by that hope until a new generation comes, aware of its faults and seeks to destroy it for a better new hope to replace it. A bit like Xehanort's ambitions, don't you think? While we could also be going into theorizing more things here, such as the origins of the teachings of light, why they were spread down the generations even though the Master is at odds with them, or even if they came before or after the start of the war between light and dark, and what we can gather what they are from the games so far, this is ultimately Auron's theory video. Those will all be relegated to their own content in another video some other time, so I hope you look forward to it. As for this video, it has reached its end. Tell me what you think in the comment section below, and may your heart be your guiding key.